Okay, so for this particular video, we're going to focus on comparing the averages of two groups, whether it's going to be a paired approach or an independent approach. The t-test is the most commonly used way of comparing the means or the averages. There are situations where t-tests are likely not appropriate. There are certain assumptions that must go into whether or not you would want to use a t-test or not. One of those is the assumption that it follows kind of the normal distribution, or even a t-distribution is the appropriate type of test. There are non-parametric types of tests that are out there that can also be used for measuring differences between two groups. We'll focus on those in the next video. This course is not so much a course in determining which methods you should use as much as teaching you the basic skills of how to choose which test. So the t-test, when would we want to use a t-test? And we'll continue looking at the low birth weight data. If you remember, we've got some in here that's like a percent LBW, percent low birth weight, right here for the nation. We also have that here for the black residents of those counties. And there may be other LBW variables in here. So we could do something like our summary statistics on low birth weight, and this is the summary statistics for the nation for those counties. So of all the counties in this data set, there's 107 that do not have data, but there's well over 3,000 that do. The mean low birth weight percentage for the nation is 8.113 percent. So that means of all the babies that are born in the nation, according to the most recent county health facts data that went in here, 8.1% of those are low birth weight. And we've got data for low birth weight, which at the very end here, I think it was just called LBW. So we've got some data in this data set: LBW black, LBW Hispanic, and LBW white. So we can look at LBW black. I'll see if it'll let me do multiple at the same time. Give it a shot. Okay, so that has all of those things kind of together. Doesn't make as much sense to me. We'll just do one at a time. Alright, so here's the summary LBW black. The mean percentage is 13.6%, which is a lot higher than 8% for the nation. Then we have the summary we can do for LBW white, which is 7.46. So you might want to compare those two averages. You know, is there a difference? Visually, it looks like there's a very apparent difference to you and me, I would imagine. I mean, it's pretty apparent to me, but a stat person might want to say, well, back that up with some statistical test. So the most common statistical test for comparing two averages is the t-test, and it's pretty easy to do in here. It's just t.test parentheses and then an x variable versus a y variable. And this is the independent t-test, or they're not paired. So this is looking at the average of one group versus the average of the other group. So here, LBW, we can compare like LBW black, comma, LBW white. So this is comparing the low birth weight for the county-based averages for the nation versus the county-based averages for the white folks for the nation. And you run it, and it gives you these numbers. It says group 1's got a mean of 13.67. Group 2 here, the LB white, has a mean of 7.46%. So much higher in the black community than the white community among the babies that are born in this data set. Now, the p-value, there it is. It's really, really small. If you want to see the digits, we can do the options, parentheses, sci pen, equals, and I usually just do the 999. and then I can rerun this test, and you can see how small the p-value is. It's clearly less than 0.0001. It's really small. So we have sufficient evidence based on the t-test to conclude that that difference is in fact significant. Now, that is comparing the percent LBW black versus LBW white by looking at the averages of all the counties in the United States versus the averages of all the counties in the United States. Now, there are some other ways to do this. We could potentially do something like a paired test. Like, what about within the counties? You know, those differences within the counties, that they hold up across the nation, and that's a paired test. And paired tests are more oftenly used for repeated measures or evaluating two different methods, but it might be okay to use it in this case. So if we were to do a paired t-test, that's t.test parentheses, and then we would have we could do our same variables, LBW black, comma, LBW white, and then we have to do the, I think it's comma, and then paired, or I can type it in lowercase, paired equals true. And now it's looking at these differences. And it says the mean difference between each county in the United States, if you were to subtract the differences or add whatever, you get the differences. The mean difference between the county, or in this case not the county, but the white community in the county and the black community in the same county is 6.14. And that difference is also statistically significant. So those are paired t-test approaches. You know, now that's a paired one. The first one we did was looking at the independent t-test. So those are a few different options. It's a fairly easy test to do. We can look at some other t-test options here in a minute.